Okay. Good evening. I'm calling to order the November 4, 2025 meeting of the Southborough Select Board.
Recording in progress.
The first item on our agenda is public comment, and this is an opportunity for members of the public who would like to offer a comment on a matter which is not on the agenda to do so. It's intended as an opportunity for people to offer a comment, but not as a back and forth with the board, and we try to keep comments to 3 minutes or less. Is there anyone here or online would like to offer public comment? Yes, Ms. Demuria.
Hi, Debbie Demuria, 58 Flag Road. Hi, everybody. I'm just inquiring about the last item that was recently added yesterday afternoon about the regional school budget. I think it might be an open meeting law violation, so I'm just bringing it to your attention. I believe the documents were dated last week, and so I just wanted to understand what's going to be discussed. I don't have specific comments because I haven't had the chance to look at it, but I also think it might be.
Well, have you had a chance to look at this, or?
I had briefly, I only saw that it went in, yeah. But regardless, I think it's an open meeting law violation.
I think we can deal with it tonight, but thanks for your comment.
Okay, I mean, the documents were dated last week, I believe,
Yeah,
correct?
I know the background behind this, but we're not going to get into a back and forth on this, all right?
Okay, I'll just make this statement that I think that the public needs 48 hours. 48 hours is often not a lot of time, but I did, but I think also in fairness to the public. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, any other public comment? All right, so the first item on the regular agenda is the continued hearing for Pratt Automotive's application for a Class 2 auto dealer license. So, sir, do you want to come up? So first, I'll just kind of summarize kind of where this is at. So the Select Board, we opened the hearing on August 19th, and then became apparent there was this potential zoning issue, so we continued it to September 2nd.
There's no zoning
Yeah, actually,
issue.
I don't interrupt me, okay? On September 2nd, the applicant was before us and explained he was going to put in some applications for a special permit. And at that time, we voted to continue it to this time. So since that time, the issue is that there's a proposal to have multiple uses on the same lot, and section 1.74.8C2 of the zoning code says that in order to do that, the ZBA needs to grant a special permit. There's already a fence business there and a granite business there. And so since that time, the applicant has applied for a special permit before the ZBA, has not, my understanding, begun the site plan approval process. The ZBA opened the hearing on October 15th. There was a lot of public comment and issues raised there, including letters from the Planning Board and the Conservation Commission. The hearing was continued to November 19th. So I guess the decision we have to tonight is to kind of see three paths here, which is we could vote to approve this application and contingent on the applicant getting necessary land use permits, or we could just continue this to another date, and then that would raise the question of when, because it looks like this process is still very much in flux. Or we could vote to deny the application without prejudice to the applicant's ability to reapply after all the zoning approvals have been obtained. So that's kind of how I see it, but how do you see it, sir? And what kind of new information can you provide to us since the last time we were here on the 2nd?
So this property has always been automotive since 1980. Always been, until this day. The special permit isn't for automotive. The special permit, it is for the other business office that's there, which is the granite place. So I don't know why this is like such a big issue, because the property next to it is a car dealership. they are the ones that started this whole thing, where where it does not make sense. So we have hired Cornerstone, what's it called?
Surveyors, engineers, Connor
So they're going to update the site plan there accordingly to what we talked to
town planner.
the town planner. So, I mean, that's it. I mean,
Okay. So then, you're in the process of updating, getting a new site plan, so you can then present that to the planning board for a site plan review?
correct.
Okay.
Yes.
But where are you in that process of beginning things formally with the planning board and, with an application for site plan approval?
Well, they are going to
You got to get sorry, continue.
send the whole new plan to Kathy. What?
Sorry, he was just talking to me at the same time you were talking, and then I lost my
Right,
concentration.
I am still waiting on the final site plan
Okay,
to be sent to them.
all right. Well, I guess at this point, we could just open it up to the board for, questions for the applicant, unless you have anything else you want to add. I understand Kathy can't hear us, or is having difficulty hearing us?
Now I can.
Okay, good. All right, so anything else you want to add further, or?
There's nothing to add.
Okay,
That property has always been automotive, and they had a dealership there before too, so, there shouldn't be this whole issue that's been, if it was a new property where it was never a dealership, a body shop and stuff, okay, sure,
Yeah.
it makes total sense, but the property has always been for decades.
I think the last site plan review was in 1986, and that's 40 years.
Mhm.
And I also think that the ZBA continued the hearing until the 19th, and we really need to see what they say about it.
Because of the neighboring tenants, that they are a dealership as well, and they do not want a dealership next to them. So they created a whole
Oh, you think it's a competitive thing?
commotion. Of
No,
course it
but it's
is.
also that the building isn't zoned presently to have like light manufacturing, which is sort of going on there
There's
with the,
no light manufacturing there.
they're
There's-
cutting stone.
They're not.
Well,
That
That's what the website says.
is a showroom.
The website says they're cutting stone there.
The building where the body shop is has always been automotive. There was never light manufacturing. They have a different place where they do like the whole cutting in the
Okay, but the
You know.
website says they do it.
well, this is
The
an issue that I know
website
it's
says
gonna be
that they
discussed
do
with
it.
the ZBA.
Yes, so this is again, it's a Z, we really want to help you out, but
Uh-huh.
the ZBA,
The whole
has
board
the-
is more than welcome
Yeah.
to go over there
yep,
and see it with your own eyes. The automotive building is still automotive. There's nothing there. There's nothing.
okay, so
The
I've got,
Granite Place, they have a separate location where they do all of the cutting. The location where they are here, at that particular property,
Yep.
it is a showroom only, that's it.
okay,
It's
so
like a 200
okay.
square feet
I think that's what the
office space.
I think that's what the ZBA will need to hear, and I also think
They have,
Cornerstone will sort of help sort this out.
Yep.
Because this photo here was 2023, and
Mhm.
the fences aren't up. And then I went to Google Earth, and I looked, and it's got fences, and then it's got a bunch of businesses happening here, and I think it needs to get
no, there's two
clarified where you
businesses.
will
I mean,
fit.
3 businesses, the fencing,
Mhm.
the granite,
Yep.
and the car, well, now it's a detailing shop,
Okay. And
so
is
it's
that-
3 businesses. not a
And then
bunch of
yours,
businesses.
yours will be 4, right?
No, it is, so it is gonna be the fencing, the granite place, and us. Which is the same thing that it is a site plan from back in 1980-something, which was 3 businesses.
Was it, and there's an apartment there too, is that right?
Yes.
So that's like 4 uses, this is a ZBA.
But the apartment,
Yeah.
it is already on the existing site plan. Nothing changed, nothing changed.
I know, and the other thing that worried me about it was if there are cars there for the employees, is there really going to be enough room to put in a certain number of autos in addition?
That particular place fits 50 cars.
Okay. So I think Cornerstone is going to help sort
Yeah.
stuff out.
They will.
Anyway.
Tim?
I'm generally supportive of having an extra business in Southborough as long as it goes through the right channels. So I would be willing to approve with conditions tonight if that was something that the board felt we wanted to do. I would be willing to also let it go through the rest of the channels and come back. I don't really want to carry it through multiple meetings, though, either way, for this to get sorted one way or the other. So either it leaves us with approval or it leaves us with a denial, and then it comes back in the future. And not just keep going on agendas week after, meeting after meeting, one way or the other.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, I'm generally in favor of the idea of approving it subject to a ZBA approval. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know whether the planning board has an axe to grind in this particular item. But I guess I'd like to hear from the planning board.
Yeah. All right, and Mimi, I'll get to you, but first Kathy.
So I don't think axe to grind is the proper thing to say. They're going to do site plan review. So I am more in favor of denying the permit without prejudice. So you come back once he gets through the 2 approvals. But it's my understanding he hasn't even been to planning board after all these months to try to get that going. So I'm a little bit impatient at this point and out of patience after that Sunday that I went there and heard everything that was going on there and all the upset and all the cars that were at Nan's. I'm kind of, this is frustrating. This is no way to do business in this town. So he needs to go to ZBA, he needs to get the ZBA on board with this, and then he needs to go to the planning board. Then he can come back and we can take a look at it.
Okay, and then just one issue that I see before we get to you, Mimi, is your application is looking, you have a proposal to have 20 cars there on the lot, right? And from my experience when I was in the ZBA, as they go through the special permit process, and then also as part of the site plan review,
Right.
They may, working out, if you get the relief you're looking for, there may be a condition to
That's
have
fine.
some lesser number of cars.
Yep.
So I think that's a reason why it makes sense to just deny the application without prejudice to your ability to come back. And then, if you've got the approvals you've got a number which you know is solid, and then
Right,
it's a
but-
simpler application to deal with.
Regardless, that place will be a dealership regardless. So I would appreciate if you can approve it contingent to the site plan being ready, and then we're good to go, other than being, this whole
Yeah,
back and forth.
okay. I understand your position. Yes, Mimi?
Mimi Latrell, Chair of the Planning Board. We did submit a letter to the ZBA, and I think the Select Board also received it. There's a lot to unwind on this project, on this property, as Ms. Landry alluded to. There hasn't been a site plan since 1986. There's several different uses there now. Whether that granite is, if it's a fabricating, as it says on their Facebook page, then it would require a different special permit before the ZBA. All the parking calculations of all these different businesses and residential need to be done. I highly doubt 20 cars, after all those, parking requirements are calculated, would fit on that lot. A lot of the things from the 1986, all the landscaping has all been removed. It's been paved to the back. There was required to be trees in the back. Those have all been taken down, and I understand there are issues with the the Conservation Commission too. So I think the cleanest thing to do would be to deny it without prejudice and let this get all cleaned up before it comes back to you. And just a question for the board, is there a Class 2 license there now? Like, how are they selling cars if it's always been a dealership if there's no current license?
I don't know.
Actually,
Thank you.
That is a question I had as well. You said the site has always been automotive, but automotive can mean a lot of different things.
So that place was a body shop, a service shop, a dealer, a limo place, a detailing shop now. So you tell me, like.
I'm under the impression, and believe me, I'm as pro-business as anybody on this.
And
This.
to deny it now, since we have already spent money on it, it doesn't make any sense.
I mean, a lot of the issues are really not necessarily yours, they're your landlord's.
I understand that.
Yeah.
Okay, I
But-
disagree with
but
this.
we
Like,
are already invested in it, so, it's.
All right. Mr. Muriel?
Andrew, we advised the applicant months ago to go to the planning board and the
We have.
ZBA, and he hasn't done it. So I'm as pro-business as Al is, but this hasn't been done the right way. And the comment that was just made a minute ago that this is going to be a car dealership regardless, it won't be a car dealership unless we grant a license. Let's make that clear. So I just, I'm tired of this. Let's just vote to deny it without prejudice and make it clear again. We won't pick it up again until we know that he has cleared the hurdles with the ZBA and the planning board.
Mrs. Cook, to my defense, I was only brought to my attention 2 months after I filed for the Class 2 dealer's license that I had to go through all this. So all this became news to me before the meeting where the town did not do its due diligence, and because of the neighboring property raised all of this whole commotion. So that's why it has been taking so long and blah, 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 So, but we have already signed a lease on it, hired the proper people to take care of it. It makes no reason for you to say, let's deny it based on nothing. That property has always been automotive, and it will always be.
All right, thank you. So we're not going to, we've talked about this before. So, Mr. Muria?
So just a quick minute. So I just want to let you know that the matter actually, I believe, is either before or needs to go before 4 boards. So I checked in with Laura Davis today on the ZBA, and she said that the matter is also before the Conservation Commission and the Board of Health, and also needs, as we just talked about, the Planning Board and the ZBA, so it's 4 boards. And I just wanted to just kind of bring us back to reality. On the Secretary of State website, there are only 2 uses mentioned. There's the finest granite and exotic auto spa. So I don't know what happened to the fence company, but that's not been listed on the Secretary of State's website. But there are, if you just type, the address, there are 2 used auto sales listed. One was forwarded to you, TJ Motors, and another one I just found today called New England Motor Sports. And these appear to be sales. And so, to Ms. Cook's point, is there a Class 2 auto license or not? I don't really know, but right now, it appears that there are sales going on down there, at least according to the website.
There's no sales going on. 0. The place is empty. Everybody is more than welcome to go over there, inspect, and see for your own eyes.
Okay, so I'd like to first consider whether to close the public hearing, okay? So that's, if you want to continue it, then, you should vote no. But if you want to make a decision, either approve with conditions or reject without prejudice, then that would be a reason to vote to close the public hearing. I think, we've already discussed this quite a bit. So we'll have to do a roll call vote on this. I move that we close the public hearing?
Second.
Okay, so roll call vote, Dennington, aye?
Landry, no.
So, yes, close this public hearing.
This is a motion to close the public hearing, just make a decision about whether we're going to approve with conditions or to deny without prejudice to coming back.
So I'm an aye.
Okay, thanks. Al?
Aye.
Thanks. And Kathy?
I'm an aye.
Okay, so 4-1, we're going to close the public hearing. I move that we deny Pratt Automotive's application for a Class 2 auto dealer license without prejudice to your ability to reapply after you sort out all the zoning issues.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Dennington, aye.
Landry, aye.
Fling, no.
Hamilton, no.
And Kathy?
Aye.
Okay, so, I know you got some work to do before the other boards, and, I hope you can work through all these issues, and then, when you're able to do that, it should be a pretty clean
Okay.
matter for us to hear, and without these repeated,
Thank you.
postponements.
And
Hey, Andrew, one thing we can do to help out, until tonight, I hadn't heard anything about Board of Health or Conservation, so Mark, can we just send the applicant a letter making clear he's got one letter that says this is what you've got to do, so this is not confusing. Those two are new to me. I'm not sure why he's got to go in front of those two, but let's try to help him understand exactly what has to be done.
Yes, we can consolidate all of that into one document.
My other question, the fire department with access to the property.
I think that's something that one of the other boards would take into account, the ZBA or this planning board as part of this
And-
site plan approval process.
Andrew, when he would be able to come back, it'd be like a one-meeting thing, right? If everything's in order?
Yeah.
Okay.
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 All right. Thank you.
Thank you, and I apologize for
No worries. Don't worry.
for being very.
Okay.
I don't think we've necessarily covered ourselves and Lori either.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is a different, new application for Class 2 auto dealer license from Venture Auto Services, 145 Boston Road. And then, Mark, could you please read the public hearing notice?
Sure, the Southborough Select Board shall hold a public hearing Tuesday, November 4, 2025, at 6:45 PM in the McAuliffe Hearing Room, 17 Common Street, Southborough. Consider an application from Venture Auto Services for a Class 2 used car dealer's license to be located at 145 Boston Road in Southborough. Public hearing may be viewed, listened to by the public through a link located at ma-southborough.civicplus.com/674/virtual meetings. All interested parties are encouraged to view and/or participate.
Okay. So, sir, why don't you introduce yourself, explain, your relationship with the applicant, and explain what you're looking to accomplish with this application.
Hi, my name is Rich Card-Paul. I'm new to this area. I live in Framingham, Natick, and we have a mechanic shop here at the gas station, and we just would like to 5-car used car dealer, because sometimes customers come in and ask if we have vehicles available. We would like to at least have like a couple of options for them if they need. And I'm the owner.
Okay. So, and this is the place that used to be Southborough Auto Tech, I think, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, okay. And your hours of operation here are closed Sunday, but otherwise 9:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m., right?
Yes.
Just 5 cars?
Yes.
All right. I don't have any other questions. Maybe this time begin with you, Kathy?
I have no questions. This is pretty straightforward, I think.
Al?
No questions. I'm very familiar with the site, and I don't think I've ever seen I think it's a good spot for this activity.
My question would be, I think it's a good use of the site, but you have a lot of vehicles I've seen there. If you get this, are you going to try to clean up any of the ones that aren't running there and try to consolidate a bit so there's still customer parking, or how is that in your plans?
I've also started clearing out some of the junk vehicles that's been left by old customers and stuff like that. We've removed 5 already this week, and we're continuing to move them along also.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I was in there one day with the U-Haul to get gas, and it was pretty tight to move around, so I was just
Yeah.
kind of wondering.
Thank you.
Is that mostly cars purchased at auction?
Yes, the 5 cars, they're going to be purchased at auction, yes.
Thank you, that's my only question.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't have any questions. So, any comment from Mark?
No, you want to talk about the duration?
Oh, yes. So Melanie made a helpful observation that so the license renewal packets for all the other businesses in town for the 2026 year already went out, but because you filed after that went out, then we would be approving something that would only be good through like the end of the year. Anyway, where I'm going with this is I would suggest that we give you the license through January 1st, 2027, so that you wouldn't have to come back and just like
Thank you.
reapply. Okay.
I had that question also.
All right, good, good, good. 6 weeks, yeah. Is there any public comment on this? Okay. I move that we approve the Class 2 auto dealer license. Oh, first, we got to close the public hearing, right?
Yes.
Okay, so first I move that we close the public hearing.
Second,
Okay, roll call vote. Dennington, aye.
Landry, aye.
Fling, aye.
Hamilton, aye.
Kathy?
Cook eye,
All right,
Cook eye.
and I move that we approve the Class 2 auto dealer license for Venture Auto Services, 145 Boston Road, for 5 cars through January 1st, 2027.
Second,
Again, roll call vote. Dennington, aye.
Landry, aye.
Fling, aye.
Hamilton, aye.
Cook eye.
All right.
Thank you
sir.
so much. I appreciate you guys.
Okay,
Good luck.
okay. The next item on the agenda, I guess we're running a little early. I could just run through the chair's report really fast. We had our annual volunteer breakfast on Monday. I know we kind of maybe went in shifts. Al, Tim and I were there, kind of roughly between like 8 and 9. I don't know if anyone else made it, but good attendance, right?
Yeah, we had a pretty good group.
Yeah. So I really hope people are, we were just talking about the volunteer breakfast. I don't know if you made it too?
I didn't, I remembered
Okay.
at 11.
So it's yeah, it's,
I remembered at 11,
all
I'm
right,
sorry.
yeah.
It was lovely.
Yeah, so that was a good event. And for Veterans Day, Dan Calenda, who was together the event with Steve Wynot, reached out to me and asked if I would speak at the event. So I'm going to speak at the event on Tuesday, right?
What are we doing? Yes.
And that's November 11th, and then there'll be a parade, right? And I'm sure we'll get an email about the details about when and where to march, et cetera.
Yes.
And then I hope everyone has on their calendar our joint meeting with the school committee at Trottier. So we're the guests of the school committee on November 12th, right, 6:30?
What time? 6:30?
6:30, yep. All right, and then I think we're ready then to begin the tax classification hearing at 7.
So we have no presentation on the screen?
First,
All right
going to
with
read
everybody?
the public hearing.
We're having video issues,
yep.
yeah.
All set?
All
Boy,
right.
The assessors can really pack them in, huh?
Yeah, Kathy, I don't know if you saw that a couple media just left the room after They started to load the slide deck for the tax
I
classification.
won't let it affect my confidence.
But actually, but this is actually one of the most interesting and important issues we deal with, although there's been a consistent.
Everybody's
way we've
favorite.
Dealt with it the last bazillion years.
You know, I can't see you guys at all. Do you guys realize that? This is not like a public safety room, so I hope the new Zoom system's gonna let us see better. I can't see you guys at all, so I can't see the room.
Okay. All right, so Mark, would you want to read
Sure.
the public hearing
Yep,
notice?
Southborough Select Board shall hold a public hearing with the Board of Assessors Tuesday, November 4, 2025, 7 PM, to determine the certified valuation of each class of property, the minimum residential factor, the allocation of the tax burden among the 4 classes of real property, residential, open space, commercial, industrial, and personal property. The public hearing will be held in the McAuliffe Hearing Room, the Townhouse, 17 Common Street, Southborough. Meeting may also be viewed by the public through a link located at ma-southborough.civicplus.com/674/virtual meetings. All interested parties are encouraged to view and or participate. Additionally, interested citizens may present written views prior to the public hearing.
All right. So with that official introduction,
Good evening.
let's go on to the presentation.
Yeah, want to welcome the public to our annual classification hearing. Joining me tonight is the Board of Assessors. We have Jeffrey Klein, Tammy Rice, and Heath Wittes, and Deputy Assessor Lori Esposito. Appreciate Heath dressing up for the moment. Again, this presentation is a little bit longer just because obviously Tim's new, so I'm still going to fly through it. Tim, as I said earlier, if you have questions, feel free to stop me. If I ramble, don't worry, that usually happens. Okay, so let's start. What is tax classification? Allows the select board to make the decision whether to shift tax burden from one class of property to another. So we have residential, commercial, industrial, and personal property. Commercial, industrial, personal property are known as CIP. Open space, we do not utilize that class. It's class 2. Very few towns utilize that. Our open space is valued within the residential valuation model. Town of Southborough has never had a split rate, issue of fairness between property classes. State statute provides a maximum allowable portion of the tax levy, up to 150%, to be borne by the CIP classes. So you can't go above 150%, and there's also a minimum allowable portion to be borne by the residential class. Okay, the role of the Board of Assessors is to value property for the purpose of equitable taxation based on fair market value using data from prior calendar year sales. The Board of Assessors does not set the tax rate. Andrew, who sets the tax rate?
The tax rate is just a formula based on the levy and the,
DOR actually sets the tax rate. So what we do is we go through a formula, which you'll see, and we propose a tax rate. Just so you guys know that the Department of Revenue, if they're not happy with you, can deny you. They can make you go back to town meeting. They can make you stand on Route 9 and spin on your head, whatever needs to be done. But yes, we do not set the tax rate, and you'll see it as a calculation. Residents who attend the annual town meeting decide what services the town of Southborough provides, which determines how much the town will spend. These decisions impact the tax rate. So getting over to what Andrew was alluding to, our tax rate. Town meeting votes spending. There's your levy. Assessors' final assessed values are certified by DOR. That's your town's total valuation. And as Andrew alluded to, it's nothing but a formula. It's levy divided by valuation. You take that number, multiply it by 1,000, and that's the tax rate per 1,000 you'll see on your tax bill. Okay, moving on. The 26 valuations are based on 2024 calendar year sales and market conditions. Calendar year 23 sales were utilized when classes of properties had limited sales. 26 assessments reflect the value of properties of January 1st, 2025. So they appear on your actual tax bill. You open it up on January 1st, the value is already a year old. We're time lagged by a year, and that's Mass General Law.
Paul, just, do you want to do it so we can show the slides up here and,
I guess we can.
Can't.
oh, you can't? Sorry about that. Okay, all right. Sorry about that.
Okay, moving on, what is happening to assessments? Town's total taxable valuation increased 136 million to a new high of 3.924 billion in FY '26, a 3.59% increase. So we're knocking on the door of 4 billion. Overall assessments are on the rise. Residential classes increased 3.79%. Commercial classes increased 1.62%. Industrial classes basically stayed the same, and personal property classes increased 9.56%. Just real quick, the industrial class, we had 32 Gosselin Drive, again, EMC property. That had a huge value drop because they gutted the building right before the valuation date of June 30th. June 30th is for new growth or any improvements or things that have been torn down. Also, we had another EMC parcel, the one where the ponds are located, Crystal Pond. That went from a commercial, an industrial parcel, and the DOR had us reclassify it as residential because the majority of that property that has decent land that can be developed is residentially zoned.
So the whole lot is now residential? That includes the industrial piece?
No, it's just the way we value it. It's still, the DOR looked at it and basically said, well, you shouldn't really be doing it on the commercial valuation land schedule. We want you to move it to residential because really the ponds are wetlands. So no.
Okay, I get that. I know it's still zoned.
Yep.
Two different ways. But as far as where you put the whole value of the whole lot under residential?
Yes, yep, that's what they wanted us to do.
Okay.
Yep.
Increase that number a little bit then? That 3.79 number, that was part of the increase? Moving the value?
Yes, of the residential class, yeah, a little bit, yep. It was about, I think the property was like $1 million or $1.4 million. And again, the residential portion of it, as it stands now, it has a little bit of an entrance to get to it, but you value it as if it was just one chunk of land, not subdivided or anything like that. That value will be built if we develop that out.
And what's the difference between personal property and residential?
Okay, so residential value is, just what it sounds like, all your single-family, two-families. Personal property is totally different. What that is equipment. It's mostly on businesses. Equipment, it can be furnishings, it can be inventory, depending on how they file. Essentially, it's an additional tax that businesses pay.
Okay.
The problem with that, Tim, is you got to keep in mind that depreciates, whereas real estate appreciates.
Okay.
The other thing is that also a company can just pick up with a big value and move, and it's gone, okay? New growth. So value is $42.63 million this year. That equated to $588,755 in tax dollars. Again, we're down for the second year in a row, minus 3.78%. Clearly, you can see the chart that's trending downwards the last couple of years. Again, it decreased about 23,000 over the prior year. Not a huge decrease, but nevertheless, it's not where we want to go, and it's lower than our 10-year average of 681,415. Now, realize we have some new projects coming, but there's a time lag there, and unfortunately, I think 27 new growth is definitely expected to decline. We don't have many houses being built. We're going to have a 1 or 2 year lull before we really start seeing new growth pop up due to the commercial, and we also, as you well know, we got 2 or 3 40B projects coming along. So hopefully we'll turn this around a little bit. The average single-family home assessed value increased $33,453 to $991,000. That's a 3.5% increase. This is significantly less than the prior 2 years. In '25, it increased 7.2%, and in '24, 11.2%. The key to note here is this is part of the reason why, and we'll get to it a little bit later, why the commercial industrial percentage has decreased. Obviously, residential values increased significantly more than the commercial and industrial properties. This isn't a Southborough thing. You all watch the news. This is throughout the state. Okay, the average commercial industrial mixed use, or CIP, well, this doesn't include personal property, increased 91,900 to 3,537,400, a 2.7% increase. Last year, it was 2.6. Okay, so if we stay with a single tax rate, the FY '26 rate would increase from $13.81 to $14.36. The average single-family tax bill would rise from $13,223 in '25 to $14,231 in '26, just north of $1,000, 7.6% increase, and that's after a 6.4% increase in FY '25. This is why it's so important that we see development in that industrial park. I think that was kind of outlined to the taxpayers during the presentation and during the special town meeting. Okay, with a single tax rate, the average commercial industrial mixed-use tax bill would increase from $47,582 to $50,796, a 6.76% increase. Okay, this is what we've talked about, relationship of class values over the last couple of years. Obviously, I mentioned it a little bit earlier. Commercial, industrial, personal property classes combined represents 15.73% of the town's total value, which you can see is trending downward, not what we want to see. Historically, CIP typically falls between 17 and 20%, and obviously has fallen out of this range. Much of this decline is due to the significant increases in the residential properties over the past several years, which we just talked about. Okay, so when you're analyzing split rate versus single rate analysis, you basically look in the 6 points that I have here. I'm not going to read through them all. Under the commercial industrial makeup, obviously we don't have any huge, large box stores, national chains. It's mostly small businesses. That's what Southborough's always been built on. And unfortunately, a lot of our big buildings are office space, kind of have a lot of our value in one basket, if you will, and we all know what the office space is doing right now. High vacancies, driving down rents, which is plummeting values, certainly doesn't help Southborough. And again, that's another reason we've lost the percentage in the commercial industrial. Percent of commercial industrial, again, represents only 15.73% of the town's value. Out of the 3,800 taxable properties, it's only 194 parcels. We don't have a lot of commercial industrial. Just getting back to kind of what Tim was alluding to, many companies also pay personal property. We have about 300 accounts that generate $1.78 million. Okay, this revenue is part of the tax base, which offsets real estate taxes for residents. Okay, we also look at the economic impact. Obviously, single rate helps us attract new businesses. From a dollars and cents perspective, C&I is the biggest money maker for the town, as its minimal impact on costly services. Sense of community. This is one I'm big on. Businesses contribute funds and resources for athletics, recreation, and scholarships, community events. They also provide contributions to departments, our friends' accounts. And, this last one is just as a result of a resident who spoke about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, that a split rate drives a wedge between the residents and businesses. And I think that's important to think about in a small town like this. You really want to appreciate the small businesses we have here and all the things they do behind the scenes for us and all the events that they contribute to. Very, very lucky to have just a bunch of great people in our business community who help out. And again, fairness. Residents decide town spending and the level of services at town businesses, in town meeting. Businesses obviously do not get a vote because they're not allowed in. And the residents obviously utilize the vast majority of the town services. So those are kind of the points you want to go through in your mind when you're thinking about a split rate. Okay, the next one here is this is kind of a state view of split rates. towns with split rates. Now, I want to tell you, this slide's about 3 or 4 years old. And really, the reason why I want to show it to you is the towns that have no color represent the towns with single rates. And what I want to try to do, what we wanted to try to do is give you a visual. People often ask me, well, you know, where are these communities with split rates? You can see most of them are in the 128 belt, a few up on the northern portion of 495. You got southeastern Mass clustered down by Fall River, New Bedford, and then, of course, out in Springfield. You can see most of central Mass throughout the Berkshires and Hampton County are pretty much single-rate towns. They're smaller communities. 238 out of 351, or 67.8% of the towns last year, had a single rate. Okay? Next, we're going to look at what happens if we had a 5% tax rate shift impact. Kind of show you how it would impact both the single family and the commercial. We're going to skip the average, because the average really isn't apples to apples. You can see the average is 991,000 versus 3,537,400. Switch to the next slide. We're going to look at the median. I think it's more apples to apples again. Okay, so you get your median at 898 and the median value of the CNI at 1,076,900. If we look at a 5% tax shift scenario, the median assessed value, the residential rate would decrease to $14.23, while a CIP would increase to $15.08. This produces less than a 1% or $117 savings to residential property taxes, while increasing the CIP property by 5% or $776. Okay, again, this number derives from that pie chart on our percentage of residential value versus commercial and industrial. We have very little. So obviously, to make any impact on the residential, you really have to pound the commercial and industrial. Okay, to
Well, I think what you just said is worth repeating, because I don't think that's the most important thing. People should understand that advocate for split tax rate in this town in particular. If you wanted to reduce real estate taxes on houses by 10%, you'd have to increase them on businesses by 60% to get the same tax revenue, 60%. So those that don't think that businesses don't look at things like that are just wrong. So it's just, you can't afford to do it. We just don't have enough commercial businesses to be able to even think about doing this.
And again, we're trying to, I think, you know, Al a year or two talked about it, and really, you know, I was kind of amazed the way he approached it is, hey, what we really need to do is build the value of our commercial industrial by, you know, improving unimproved properties or under-improved properties. And I think really that's what the Board of Selectmen has really tried to push, and I think that translated into the whole thing going on with Atlantic and Costco. And I truly believe that's the best way. We got to get some money out of our underdeveloped and non-developed commercial property, no doubt. Key takeaway, for every dollar in the residential class, it costs the CIP about $6.63. Next slide is the 25 tax rates for Southborough surrounding communities. Everybody wants to see them. We are usually the first in 26 to set out of this list. So you only get to see the 25, obviously, and ours isn't finalized yet. There was a correction on the slide that I sent you. I had Hopkinton had a split rate with a commercial rate of $14.61. That's supposed to be $14.16. They do not have a split rate. They have a senior means, which is an adjustment just on the residential properties, and the residential rate is therefore 2 cents higher than the commercial rate, but they do not have a split rate, okay? Again, our recommendation isn't going to change. The Board of Assessors unanimously recommends to continue with a single tax rate for fiscal year 2026. Okay, we're going to move on to two other tax shifts. Our friends, the residential exemption and the small commercial exemption. And as you'll see through this, neither of them really apply. Keep in mind, while a split tax rate shifts burden from one class property to another, so that would be residential and commercial to commercial industrial personal property, these two exemption options shift burden within their respective classes only. Total amount of levy, again, collected from the exempted class remains the same. You're just shifting burden within the class. Let's talk about the residential exemption, shifts residential burden from lower assessed properties to higher assessed properties, seasonal and rental properties. Examples would be communities with lots of rental property, like a Boston or a Cambridge, or seasonal properties, such as you see Barnstable and Nantucket. If adopted, the residential exemption may be up to 35% of the average assessed value of all residential parcels, increases the residential tax rate only. So kind of like that Hopkinton thing that you just saw. It would only be affect the residential rate. Residency requirements allows only a residential property that is primary residence to the taxpayer, and again, typically adopted only in areas with low rates of owner occupancy. In '25, there was 20 out of 351 communities had adopted a residential exemption. Obviously not very popular. Even less popular is the small commercial exemption. Reduces the taxes paid by owners of the properties occupied by small businesses to larger commercial and industrial taxpayers. This is typically found in communities with large commercial and industrial bases. Again, Boston and Cambridge, not exactly our cup of tea, with only 15 or 16% CIP. If adopted, it increases commercial and industrial tax rate only. Total amount of the levy paid by the commercial and industrial, again, remains the same. This exemption is for the property owner, not the small business. So it's the property owner, not the tenant. Tenants must be Class 3 businesses with less than 10 employees and less than $1 million in assessed value. Don't ask me what Class 3 business means, but whatever. 14 of 351 communities adopted it or have it in FY '25. 14 of 351. Okay, next slide is an example if we had a 10% residential exemption. It's the example, it's the math, what it would do. I ran it at 800,000, 991, and 991 obviously is the average assessed, and 1,200,000. The math is there. I'm not really going to get into it. Any owner-occupied home assessed over 1,039,236 would pay more, while those below would pay less. So again, you're shifting burden off the lower end to the higher end residential taxpayers. The Board of Assessors unanimously recommends not adopting the residential and small commercial exemptions, as they are just not relative to this community. Lastly, which we usually keep up, is the action items. So we're going to have some selectmen discussion. If you have any questions for me, that's great. Then we can move on to public comment, and it's just that, public comment. And then we move on to the select board votes. 3 votes must be taken. One if you're going to adopt a single versus a split tax rate, residential exemption, and the small commercial exemption. Mr. Chairman.
All right, well, thanks, Paul. So, now this is my 5th year hearing this presentation, so I'll just say my view, which I think we should make no change to our current policy. I think we should stick to the single tax rate and not adopt the residential exemption, the small commercial exemption. I don't have any questions, but Tim?
I have a question.
Sure, Tim.
On the tax rate of surrounding communities slide.
Yep.
I know that this tells part of the picture, but it's not necessarily a complete picture when you consider assessed value in that town versus this town. So where do we rate, if you would kind of look at a property comparatively speaking to Southborough in the commercial side? Like, would a business come here and pay less, pay more than what they're possibly paying in, say, a Hopkinton or an adjoining community?
The commercial values in the surrounding communities, commercial values, the market value is typically more regionalized. It's based on an income approach. You're looking at vacancy rates. You're looking at rents. They're very similar in this area, and a lot of times we'll work together with other assessors on that to collect the data and kind of make sure we're kind of consistent. The residential, okay, is where you get your differences, because obviously your school systems, what you have to offer in the community are going to have a massive effect on that. And also just the amount of property. We don't have a lot of property. It's also a beautiful property, a beautiful town. That's going to play into it. You are exactly correct. I kind of hate showing this because it can be very misleading. People look at it and say, oh, Town A versus Town B, and they think the one with the less tax rate is in fact, has lower taxes. That's not the case. You know, if you have a town with, comparing two towns, and Town A has a tax rate that's 10% less, you know, but the value's 20% higher, well, for a similar house, obviously, you know, it's not. It's, they would have higher taxes. So, yeah, you are correct in that. I don't know if I actually answered the question in there.
Well, my point would be, if the rate, if we had a split rate.
Yep.
And the commercial rate was a little bit higher than what the residential rate is, but maybe not the 5%, would we be detracting businesses because it'd be more expensive to be here than going to an adjoining town? Or would we be just slightly having a small difference here that it wouldn't actually impact the decision-making of a business considering Southborough versus another location?
Yeah, one of the things when you talked about commercial people and you ask them what's important, what isn't, they look at a variety of things. Taxes are only one of them, okay? And our biggest problem here is we don't have a lot to offer commercial properties coming in because we don't have sewer.
Mhm.
That's what kills us. So our thing is, does it make a huge difference? A little bit. But really what we're trying to do is put as many tools in our tool belt to overcome the fact that we don't have sewer. And that is just a killer for us. It really limits on what we can do. The two buildings that are, that EMC sold, and we have our Costco going in, they're exceptions. They're tied into, with an agreement back, I think, from the 60s or 70s. And they have a certain capacity out of Westboro. But outside of that, very, very difficult. So Tim, again, it's really just, you're trying to put some tools on the tool belt.
And then the other one is, commercial industrial would go up 6.76% year on year. Single family would go up 7.6. What would the, do you know the amount that would have to be raised on the, if we would split the commercial side to equal a same increase? So that way they'd be both, I guess, on average about a 7.1%?
I'd have to run through some scenarios. I don't have it off the top of my head, Tim, to be honest with you.
Okay. Because, I mean, that would be the raising, if there would be a split, raising the rate on one side would only be a major jump on year one. On year two, it would become a minor raise or almost negligible for a year-on-year continuance. So everything like that for a change is felt in year one, which is, you know, the hardest one, but it could be ramped up over time or something that made it feel less, but still potentially split over time. So would that change any scenarios or any opinions from your position?
From my position, it doesn't. I just, again, I don't think, one of the things I always go back to is driving a wedge between the commercial and industrial. To me, that is huge. And I thought it was a great point from the taxpayer who made that. They do so much, the commercial and industrial, you know, why shift more on them? They don't get a say, they're dragged along, and we spend a lot of money at town meeting, they pay. I just don't think a 5-10%, and what scares me is when you open up Pandora's box, it isn't 5%, it goes to 10%, and it goes to 20%, and you play the game with, well, you know, and towns do this, in the split rate, like a Framingham, that's all they discuss. Well, if you want to keep this the same percentage and this the same percentage, you're always doing that. What ends up happening is you end up with a very large commercial rate through politics, and then when the commercial crashes, it magnifies onto the residential because you have a big split.
Which is what we're experiencing right now, so sort of similar. Commercial has gone stagnant.
But it's worse in it's a lot worse in towns that have a split rate. Like you take Framingham, it's really gonna pound them, and now you're playing the game again.
Yeah.
You know, and you keep ratcheting it up.
Because my biggest thing right now is the residential rate has gone up because the assessed value has gone up. Commercial hasn't kept up at that same rate, right? So
Well, be careful what you say with the rate. You know, the tax rate's the same for everybody.
The burden,
Okay.
I guess.
The burden is being shifted again. We have commercial industrial values just are not keeping up with the residential. Again, same thing throughout the Commonwealth. The residential values are skyrocketing, and it's pushing that percentage down under the, again, we were 20 to 16%, pushing us down. Also, you got a couple of other factors in there that I didn't really discuss. One, obviously, is having a lot of our eggs in one basket with the office vacancies and the values crashing. The other thing is, a lot of our new growth comes on the residential side. We haven't had a lot of commercial new growth in here. So that doesn't help. So that's another thing that adds in pushing us, further and further.
Yeah, I just was thinking that a split rate could potentially help with the burden being shared more equally despite the assessed values drastically different. So I was just, thinking about that as well. And then the last question that I have is the 2.5%. Can you explain that to me, like I'm 5, about what that means? And how that's how the new value growth is factored into that calculation? 'Cause I know that's what.
Where are we? I'm sorry.
The prop.
He wants the levy cap explained to you. Explain to him.
Yeah, levy cap, prop 2.5%.
Prop 2.5.
Oh, you want,
I know that there's a formula. I know new growth is part of it. I don't remember the full formula.
okay, so Prop 2.5?
Yeah.
So Prop 2.5, you basically start out with a value of the town. Let me just flip to it so I can see it, and I wish I had it up on the screen here, be able to, give me 2 seconds to find it, Tim. And I'll run through it. So that's, what you're talking about essentially is our levy limit. So the levy, you start out with the prior year's levy, okay? You add 2.5% to that, okay? And then you add the new growth value, and that's gonna give you your new levy limit. And you're gonna be learning a lot about that as we approach that.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I want you to take away, the biggest misconception is people think that's gonna affect their tax bill. It's only gonna go up 2.5%. That's the town's total increase in taxes. Okay, that's what we're calculating there. If we're 20% under the cap, you guys could do a 6%, a 10%, a 12% without going for an override. So be very careful with that 2.5. And that 2.5 is every year, that's Mass General Law. So that's kind of where that 2.5 plays into. Has nothing to do with anybody's individual tax bill, okay?
Cool.
Excellent question.
Thank
A
you.
lot of people don't, I get that question all the time. Oh, we had Proposition 2.5. And then, of course, feeding into that, that will temporarily increase your cap is any debt. So it'll increase it till the project, let's take a school, 30 years, then that money comes off. Also, you can do capital as well. You can put capital out there and buy that outside the cap.
Okay.
Okay? But they're temporary. Excellent. Anyone else?
Yeah, could, you
Al,
mentioned
Al.
that.
Good evening, Al. Good evening.
Hey, how you doing? You mentioned that Hopkinton had something called senior means. Could you just describe what
Yeah,
that is?
Senior means is something, Al, I think we talked about it a couple years ago. Senior means is basically it's tied to the circuit breaker, and it provides some relief for seniors. I believe it's over 65, okay?
I'm listening carefully now.
There's nothing in the Mass General Law in it. So what people have done is created a, what do you call it, a house rule or home rule, there it is, and you go to the legislature. There's 4 towns, I think, it's more than that now, it's like 8 or 10 towns. You go to the legislature and you can come up with a formula, and there's 3 or 4 different ways to go about it. You go to the legislature, they have to approve it. It's a long process, okay? And it only lasts for a couple of years, and then you have to go through the process. It's excellent. What the assessors organization was trying to do is push this to make it a local option. So you're not running through the legislature. It's not all this back and forth for a couple of years. They had a great bill, ready to go. They had some pretty good support. It would come, it would be a local option. And the towns that have adopted it, it's slightly different versions. So this would quantify it into one version, again, tied to your state income circuit breaker. It would use some of those rules. And it was ready to go. One of the legislators got a hold of it and tried to rewrite it, screwed the whole thing up. Basically destroyed the bill. So they pulled it, and they're in a rewrite, redoing it. Would love to have that. I think I told you a couple of years ago, We're waiting for it, I would have anticipated this would have been ready, because it's got a lot of people behind it. Again, the legislature kind of screwed that up. The thing is, Al, it wouldn't be everybody at 65, okay? It would be the people, because again, remember, you're shifting burden on other people, and it would be in the residential class, okay? So you basically, other people are subsidizing these. And what it really helps is seniors who are really in need. Obviously, the taxes in this town, we're always in the top 30, average tax bill, not a good place to be. That would be huge. We're hoping to see that soon. I mean, you could go through the whole rigmarole and start researching it. I think we'll see some movement on that in the next year. They talk about it at the assessors organization. They may talk about it at Mark's organization as well, but we're definitely keeping on it. We'll jump on that if that becomes a local option. Absolutely.
I'd encourage the Board of Assessors to give some serious consideration to, a home rule petition, because, waiting for the general court to act requires a lot of patience, and.
The push needs to come from you guys.
I'm sorry, you got to go to the mic. Yeah, please.
All right, so Jeff Klein, Chairman of the Board of Assessors, and also Chair of the Taxation Aid Committee in town, where we are a committee through Brian Ballantyne, and we are trying to alleviate the tax burden for seniors who have income shortfalls. And so it's grant money that we get. We're not budgeted. We rely on donations. We rely on grants that we try to receive. And our goal is, we have applications, and we also work in conjunction with the assessors. So whenever seniors look to apply for things, they're encouraged to apply for taxation aid. And it's, we don't have a set number of monies that we allocate, dependent on how many applicants we get. And we're always advertising in the senior center to try to get people to, apply as best they can. Unfortunately, our funds are limited, but that is a committee that we try to help with direct tax bills.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I'm aware of some of the programs that are available to seniors. I've heard from a number of them, particularly over the last couple of years, a 7.65% increase is a great deal greater than the recent COLAs. And so, the pain is real. And, I think it might make sense to at least explore a senior means type program, even if it means, we have to go our own way until the state acts.
Al, we can certainly put together information for you guys, but if the push comes from you, we certainly could research it. If it's something that you guys are seriously thinking, I don't know all the ins and outs, so we probably have to have counsel,
Sure.
research it a little bit. Obviously, I just dip into the neighbors who have it and get the information. Excellent program, it really is. I'm not in tune to it 100%, but yeah, it's something.
Yeah, if you can provide us with at least, a straw man of what it would look like, I think it's worth at least exploring.
And again, Al, what I'm going to do is, I think I have some of the information, but I'll have it resent. Each town that has it, it's a little bit different.
Sure.
And the legislation was try to combine it. And like you say, it's great, is it going to happen this year? But it'll be 3-5 years. So maybe it is time to look at it. What I'll do is start gathering some of that information over the winter for you, the different programs. Perhaps what we'll do is just forward it to you, give us an idea what you're looking at. And
why don't we come back and have a conversation when you put the
we can do
information
that.
together?
That's certainly, certainly we can do. And just, Al, again, it's a couple of years to get through legislative.
I've been in the snail's race.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay. So,
Mr. Chairman, don't forget, you got to go to public comment, okay?
yeah, okay, so
Andrew,
I don't
I've got-
remember who went first. You guys asked a lot of questions, so then Kathy.
Okay, I haven't had a chance.
Okay, sorry.
So can I go next?
Absolutely.
All right, so back to what we just talked about. Paul, are you saying that in most cases, the towns are using circuit breaker to determine whether someone qualifies for the
No,
additional relief?
a lot of the options that towns have come up with, they have seemed to, because one of the things they worry about is you don't want to give it to people who don't really need it. I mean, as you know, we have a lot of affluent people over 65. That's not who you're targeting. They seem the easiest way, or from what I've seen, is they try to do it and connect it somehow, and I got to look at the ins and outs, Kathy. It's been a while since I looked at it, to this, kind of model it after the circuit breaker for the state. I'm saying that in general terms because I don't know the ins and outs of it.
So I do a lot of circuit breaker computations. I don't think there's going to be a lot in Southborough, I will say that. But it's an easy computation to be able to pull from. Remember that we've been trying the last year or so to streamline applications that we ask people to make when they're applying for certain relief. Transfer station stickers, youth and family services, our camp scholarships, et cetera. So you would think the state could move a little faster if you applied for a program that literally said, if the person qualifies for the mass circuit breaker, we're going to give them this relief. But anyway, so I agree we should bring this back and talk about it in much more depth and see what we can do.
So we're
Okay,
all
so
in
back
agreement to
to-
push this.
I put a note, because one of the items later on our agenda is review of our goals, so I added, maybe that's something we'll talk to the members and see if someone wants to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
All right, so what I wanted to add to this discussion is, when we have annual town meeting and have the budget approved, we make an estimate of what we think the impact on residential tax bills is going to be. It used to be fairly straightforward, but starting with COVID and when the split between the values of the residential property class and commercial started, story, and a couple of years, that's
You're fading,
was
Kathy.
really, really big. So Paul does not have the information he needs. Okay, now? Uh-oh. Well, it's not much I can do. How about now?
Yep, we can hear you.
No?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. All right, so I'll try to be quick. So I just want publicly to say this is, so when we went to town meeting in April, we told the audience, town meeting, that the average tax bill was going to increase 7.32%. It actually increased 7.62. So we were very close. Paul did a great job working with advisory, me, Brian, to come up with that projection. So we did a good job, even though he did not have the numbers in. We said that the average house value is going 984. It's 991. We used 550,000 as far as new growth. It was 580 something. So the information that was given to the town meeting for them to vote on the budget was very, very accurate this past time. So kudos to Paul for working hard to try to estimate something that he didn't have at that point.
And Lori.
And Lori, sorry. Lori, absolutely. Lori, Paul, Brian,
And
and
I know you're going to ask, Kathy, so one of the things we will be looking at as we get into the budget, the big difficulty with the budgets and estimating is, again, the residential went up so much, and you're guessing on how much it's going to go up. Obviously, the residential market has slowed significantly, especially this fall, so we'll be running some numbers on sales as we get into the budget to try to get an idea if we have to accommodate for any type of shift like we did the last several years. So that's it on that.
Okay.
Okay, so my last comment, Andrew, is on the actual whether to try to split the tax rate. So I continue to be totally opposed. I want to increase the denominator and do everything we can to draw businesses to this town. We don't have enough business to split it with. We've got to do everything we can to get businesses to come into this town and not to go elsewhere. So I do not want to see a split tax rate. If anything, I'd split it the other way.
Marguerite?
I support leaving the tax rate the way it is. I think that the small businesses that we have in this town are an important part of the fabric of our town, and they shouldn't be penalized for being businesses.
Any public comment? Seeing no public comment, I guess we can move to a vote. There's 3 votes to take. So for the first vote, I move that the town adopt a single tax rate.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Dennington, aye.
Landry, aye.
Fling, no.
Hamilton, aye.
Kathy?
Cook, aye.
Okay. And I move that the town not adopt the residential exemption.
Second.
Roll call vote. Dennington, aye.
Landry, aye.
Fling, aye.
Hamilton, aye.
Cook, aye.
And I move that the board not adopt the, wording of it right, small commercial exemption.
Second.
Roll call vote. Dennington, aye.
Landry, aye.
Fling, aye.
Hamilton, aye.
Cook, aye.
Okay. Thank you.
So,
Do we need to take a vote to close the public hearing too, or? Sure. All right, I should have done that in between, but now I'll just do it now. Oops. I move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, Dennington, aye.
Landry, aye.
Fling, aye.
thank you all.
Kathy, voting to close
Aye.
the public hearing? Thank you. Okay, thanks. Okay, so I had finished my chair's report before the tax classification hearing began. Kathy, is that your member's report of Youth and Family Services?
No, I think it's Marguerite's, but I do
Okay.
want to add on to her report
Okay, so
when she
Marguerite,
does.
why don't you
That's
go
Marguerite.
first?
Okay, this is very brief. Actually, Kathy knows more about it than I do. Sarah Castle in Youth and Family Services has done a town-wide survey, again, for the apparently increasing needs for social services in Southborough. A lot of people don't think that we would have problems, but they are significantly increasing, according to Sarah, with the various stressors that the town is confronted with right now, like every place else in the country. And so Sarah would like to present to us, if she could, the results of the survey and what it's called for. There's a company called Trendline, which Youth and Family has used for several years. They're extremely good. They are thorough in their investigations, and I think Sarah would like to present to us. I know she's doing a public presentation, which is coinciding with our select board meeting, but I would actually encourage her to come and talk to our next meeting about the results of the survey, which I think are not quite complete yet, but will be if Sarah's able to present. Are there questions about that?
No, but I agree with you, Marguerite.
Any others? Okay. So maybe we could put that on the agenda for a following meeting.
Oh, sorry about that, thanks. Okay, and then next is a town administrator report.
Yes, thank you.
Andrew,
Yes?
can I append to Marguerite? I had a second part to the Youth and Family Services one.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah,
if you
go
guys
ahead.
can't hear me, you're going to have to let me know. Can you hear me?
I
Yes.
can hear you fine.
All right, so Marguerite, the plan is to put that on the first meeting in December, to give them
Okay.
their due. So just related, as we know, there's a lot going on in the country right now. Food stamps are at risk. The Friends of Southborough Youth Commission is doing their normal Winter Wishes program. We're off to a very slow start, and we have a lot of applicants. So anything you guys can do to spread the word, to try to get some monetary donations for that group, that would be very helpful.
Okay, Mark?
So, thank you. That was exactly what I was going to offer, Kathy, is the plan to have them in on December 2nd, because we're trying to line up schedules with Sarah Castle. So I did want to make the board aware, as you know, we've been applying for one-stop grants for several years now. We've been taking some swings, big and little, and coming up empty. The formal announcement of the grant, one-stop grants for this year is happening this Thursday, the 6th, out in Munson. But we did get a notification from the state that they are lifting the announcement embargo so that the communities that have received grants can announce them. And so I am pleased, to announce that, that we did, get a grant this year for the One Stop, for the downtown Southborough branding and wayfinding project. It was the smallest one of the 3 that we applied for, but I do, I think it's important, we got to start somewhere. And so the grant, I believe, was $30,000. And we'll be getting more information on that probably end of this week, beginning of next, as to how to start that process. I really want to acknowledge the work that Vanessa Hale and our former EDC coordinator, Leah Emerson, did on this and pulling these together. It really was an awful lot of work, and I'm glad that, a lot of people over the years have put a lot of work into these. So I'm really glad for us to see that we've got, we got some result from this. So we'll look to build on this in future years and, put forward, our regional Route 9 grant again. Westboro is already put in to get feedback as to why that didn't move forward. So again, we'll look to take another swing, at that and maybe some other things next year. The only other thing I want to just put on the board's radar is that we are going to have our new health insurance consultant, Borislow, in at the next meeting to give a presentation, to introduce themselves and talk about the path forward as it pertains to our benefits and our rates. So give the board a chance to meet them. If there's things that you want to hear, information you're looking for in that particular meeting, please let me know, and we will make sure that they have that teed up for you. That's it.
Okay. So moving to the consent agenda, open session meeting minutes for October 21st and the 27th, I actually have some edits to both of them. Does anyone else have any edits?
I've got a couple edits for the 21st, but not for the
Right.
27th.
I just have scriveners.
Okay, you want to go first, Marguerite?
I can just give them to you after. They're spellings.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Kathy? What are your edits?
So Mr. John Butler does not live on William Onthank Lane. He lives at 6 Davis Road, and I know why she did that, and it's explainable. But anyway, Bridget, he lives at 6 Davis Road, so that's under our line 12. Then on line 57, I just want to add something there. Bridget, you did, again, a great job with these minutes. $1 million in free cash on line 57, but put after it, for fiscal year ending 6/30/25. And that's it.
Okay, and then the edit that I had was on line 43. So this is really an addition, but I think it's important. It's the sentence that goes from 42 to 43 where the REC Executive Director, Brian Smith, is talking about the dark station technology. So the draft says, he stated that new technology would allow the REC to address a dark station. He described how the technology functions, and I would also add, and the availability of state grants to fund that technology, because I think you did say good news that the state was going to also fund pilots, I think, for the new technology about dark stations. And then there's actually a significant question I have in the minutes about on the budget guidelines. If you look at line 75 to 76, I know the budget message has already gone out, but this is saying that we agreed to having non-salary items based on FY 25 actual numbers with potential increases explained, right? Now, I definitely remember the part, base your FY 26 or FY
27.
27 off of FY '25 actuals. And I think we talked about an overall 3% increase. So my understanding is what we were, the guidelines were, so for non-salary items, you budget off of the FY '25 actuals with no more than a 3% increase, and if there's anything you need over that, you explain it? Or was it just flat based on FY '26 actuals? I think it was,
We didn't say what you just said. And we also didn't say the 3% as far as the overall budget. We said 3% for the schools. So she wrote this right, except she
Okay.
shouldn't have said, with potential increases explained. We actually didn't say that, but obviously if you're going to put more than fiscal year '25, you do need to explain it. So I'm actually okay with that
Okay.
there, as some people will put something different there because they'll need to.
all right. Okay, thanks.
We can change this, but that's what we agreed to then.
No, that's the message that already went out, right? Okay. So it's a little more draconian even than I appreciated there.
The school is draconian, for sure.
All right, so I move that we approve the October 21st open session meeting minutes as amended.
Second.
Okay, Dennington, aye.
Landry, aye.
Flag eye.
Hamilton, aye.
Cook, aye.
Okay, and then on the October 27 minutes, they looked all good, but at the bottom in the footer, it says October 9, it should say October 27. Did anyone have any substantive edits?
No,
there-
and Mark did a very good job on those minutes.
Yes.
Yes.
Simply, in the second, under B, other matters, B, simply just needs an M instead of an N.
Okay, so I move that we approve the open session meeting minutes for October 27 as amended.
Second.
Dennington, aye.
Landry, aye.
Flag eye.
Hamilton, aye.
Cook, aye.
Okay, so then on the other matters, recap of special town meeting. I don't know who wants to go first. Tim, you have any thoughts on how the town meeting went and next steps?
I was absolutely shocked by the sheer support of Article 1. I didn't think it was that overwhelmingly supported, so I thought that it would be a pass, but I did not think it'd be a pass with like 12 people against it. So that was a pleasant shock from that meeting.
Marguerite, observations?
One of my favorite town meetings ever. It was very quick, and the clickers were great.
Kathy?
I wish we would use clickers on every vote going forward because you have a record of how many people voted. So down the road, when we can't remember exactly who voted, we know that 771 people voted for Article 1 and 12 against. So I'm hoping we really do use them now that we've done them, they've worked. I hope that every vote is using clickers. I also thought it was an excellent town meeting, special or not. I bet there were 400 people there that don't normally come. And so they got to see a town meeting for the first time, and it went quick. Very little disputes about things. So I'm hoping that sets an example and that it will encourage people to come back to future town meetings. As far as results go, I thought we had a really, really good night. The first 9 articles passed overwhelmingly with very little, again, dissent as far as the substance of it. 10, we knew there was going to be a lot of discussion. We'll get through 10. We'll figure this one out. I thought it was a success all the way around, and I also agree with, that vote was just so thrilling to see the town truly come together for something. I don't think there's ever been a vote that overwhelming. I can't think of one. We've had a couple votes with more people, but 801 people is a lot of people to come out on a Monday night to vote on something, which tells you how many people wanted Costco.
Al?
Yeah, I echo those comments. I think actually the two things stood out to me. One, after Article 1, an extra 200 or so people stuck around us for the rest, and I think which made that one of the larger town meetings that we've had. And so that was actually a positive thing, that people were exposed to town meetings such as it is. Article 10, nobody ever said this was going to be easy. The last time we did this, it took years. And so, this is just the opening act. And I've had conversations with the moderator who's got some ideas, and I think we should talk about them. I hope he's going to be available. I told him we would be chatting about this. And so, if we want to talk about Article 10 and what we might do sort of in the next round, I think there are a couple of things we could do. I'm going to steal Paul Semino's thunder because this is actually his idea. He suggested, and I think this has got some merit, is to find some means of identifying the 7 worthy citizens who would serve on this committee and actually have the town meeting vote on the committee with the actual names. We'd have to have some mechanism for, replacing somebody if they leave or, are no longer serve, but that was at least an idea that would obviate the need to, the question of who's going to serve on it. These would be, the people listed in the article and be approved by town meeting. My thought was, that you could ask the advisory committee, which this would really now become a subcommittee of town meeting rather than a subcommittee appointed by the select board. We could have advisory identify the 7 or 9 or however many names there would be, and then have them approved and perhaps authorize the advisory committee to replace members as needed if they can no longer serve. So that, at least, I think, is something that's worth thinking about in terms of, I think the charge remains largely the same.
Yep. Well, we'll get into the specifics on that, but just some general observations. I think Jim Hegarty and the town clerk's office deserves a lot of credit for, with the patience they showed with the clickers, and I thought that whole operation worked really, really well. And I also think, particularly on Article 1, you and Kathy deserve a lot of credit for the overwhelming vote. I know Kathy did a tremendous amount of work, behind the scenes, and also out at the transfer station, spreading the word about this and going to different groups and everything. So it's really Kathy deserves a lot of credit. And also, Al, I think you did a great job with your presentation. People clapped and everything, and that was...
Yeah, no one was more shocked than me. I've never been applauded at a town meeting.
Yeah, and also it was one of those, it was an interesting point of where it passed, because I don't know if there were very few speeches that were in favor of it. And when if they were short. And even though there were probably more speeches against it, it passed. I think there was just a collective sense of almost non-verbal communication.
Because they came knowing they wanted to vote for it, Andrew, and
right.
You didn't need to say they wanted to vote for it, yes, and get out of there. Let me just add one thing I meant to add. Al should have been on the stage. Putting him down in the gully down there, it's hard to see. He had to keep swiveling his head around to look at the screen. We used to always be on the stage. I've already talked to Mr. Semino about that. He knows my opinion, but when you've got something that is as important as that presentation should be on the stage so Al could look up at the screen and not have to do what he had to do to look at the screen. So that's semantics, that is logistics, but I do hope going forward when you got something that important that you stand on the stage like we used to so you can actually deliver it and look at the audience while you're looking up at that screen.
Yeah, the alternative would be to have a screen actually at the podium, which is pretty straightforward to do.
Well, I also...
Either way, just so you don't have to do that 180-degree turn to look at the screen.
Well, also, I agree with Kathy, because I think where you then have, if you have kind of like notes with you when you're at the lectern, no one sees the notes, right? It's a little bit more comfortable that way. All right, so then the 2 articles which did not pass were Article 2, is it Article 2, the golf course revolving fund? And Kathy, we think we're going to bring it back for the annual town meeting and then see if there's a capital plan worked out with golf?
Yes, and Mark has agreed to work with the golf committee directly to get that process going and see if they need any help. I mean, capital committee could help them with the capital plan if they need help. So that's what they asked for. So we do expect them to put the plan together so that then we can look at this again and be comfortable with the language so that they understand how this would all work.
Okay. So then Article 10 was the one that it'd have a little bit of a disadvantage of being last. But I agree with you, Al, that it was a little bit of a challenge. But again, I feel optimistic, kind of glass half full, because remember, we had the option of we could just do this ourselves. We could just create an ad hoc committee and appoint people, and then I think we're anticipating the problem is their recommendations would be immediately met with skepticism. We think the town meeting would say, what's this? I didn't know about this. Who are these people? It's all, the select board had its thumb on the scale, so then this was really intended as the beginning of a conversation. We got the conversation going. One of the things we talked about at the pre-town meeting for this was after Desiree Azelbekian's amendment came for the proposal to have a study done about this. I actually liked that idea and was entertaining the possibility of maybe we would just indefinitely postpone this. But then I think, you guys made the good suggestion, now let's start the conversation going. So I don't know how the board feels about it, but, we do have money in our consultants article, which I don't think we spent any of it last year. It could potentially be used to, we could, between now and the annual town meeting, start going on getting a independent study of this done, and then you can have a committee that kind of hits the ground running. One of the things they can first do is review the recommendations of the consultant, and then sort out things that should be, we should act on, things we should not act on. So I know Mark has a memo in the packet that, recommends a couple different things, paths or options we have for going forward, and one of them is just, getting 3 quotes on the cost of a study like this, and I don't see the harm of at least getting some information back on how much this would cost.
Can I ask a question? Mark, in your memo, you said facilitating discussions and decision-making among the chosen public officials, residents, and other stakeholders. How are you defining public official? Like a volunteer, like a select person or something, or?
I think a public official is any board or committee member. You're also going to have your department heads.
Yep.
So all public officials.
So all of that, okay. And the other thing, I think your idea is great, Andrew. I think it would be good to put that, I think the whole thing is fabulous. One of the things I'm concerned with is that this will impact, if there are suggestions put forward, it will impact the employees of the town, who maybe could have a voice somewhere, at least in the discussion, not necessarily in the conclusions, but certainly they could put forward their thoughts about what a certain change would mean to them, because employee retention is important, and I think it would be good to hear what people had to say.
Al?
So I think we have two separate issues here. One is sort of the big picture, which is, questions like remote participation at town meeting. Should we do it? Do we have the right number of boards and commissions? Should we have a town manager? Those are kind of the big picture. And then we have a set of what I'm going to call operational issues, which fall squarely amongst the 5 of us, where we were elected to supervise the boards and the departments that are under our purview. And I think we need, we can't do another 7.65%. I'd like to actually target 0 if at all possible. And I think we need to take a hard look at how the departments that are organized under our supervision are organized and operated. And that's on us. That's not on town meeting. That's not on others. It's our responsibility to do. And so I think, and quite honestly, I'd like to also see some of that consulting money used to advise us on, what the best management practices are for how we go about organizing ourselves. I looked at so I won't get on that soapbox too hard, but, I think this board has a lot of work to do between now and the annual town meeting, because we just cannot continue operating the way we have. And I know we're going to talk more about this on the 18th. But, I think I would in favor of an approach where we assume that we're going to be appointing a committee and that we identify a sum of money that's available to them so that they hire their own consultant, rather than, I think we need to step back from this process as much as possible, except for possibly facilitating. I'm not sure we should put our thumb on the scale by hiring a consultant before a committee is formed, but I think we could do both at the annual town meeting. But I could be convinced otherwise.
What do you mean by both?
So identify that as authorizing a committee and approving a sum of money that the committee would have to hire a consultant. I think we could do both, making one contingent on the other.
Tim?
I'm very lukewarm on the spending any money on a consultant in any way. I could be convinced if it had a real strong purpose and not a massive amount of money to maybe do it, but we kind of worked backwards in the pre-K committee, but we used a bunch of data that was available, and then we kind of built back up from options, and we put a bunch of time in to hand that off to where a consultant would theoretically pick it up and refine it on at least a base level of recommendations. I think that approach could apply here, but we're not starting with a whole bunch of baseline opinions, which is why I could maybe sway with the consultant to at least put together something to maybe look at or respond to, but really stop early and spend little money to do that. I do think that there could be a ballot question for who's on this committee as well, not take it to town meeting, and we could take similar approach to how this board got appointed. You went out, you got signatures, and then you had to go forward from there. So if you did something like that, to at least have enough interest to go through the process and then end up on a ballot from that, I would be supportive of voting on that sort of same process. I think it's very democratic, and you get to go and have candidates nights, you get to do the same sort of thing. It's very similar. And honestly, I think having the employees in the process is not necessarily the best idea. There could be a potential to burn down what we have and start over. And if you have too many personal opinions in that, then you really start to have emotions weigh in on what could be efficient and what could not be efficient. And that's what we're talking about here, is how efficient can you get? Where is there waste? Where is there not waste? I mean, I've been laid off 3 times. I don't want to say that I want to see that happen to somebody. It really is not a fun thing to do. But that's part of this process, potentially, on finding ways to be efficient. And that's where, we really need to let the process play out and figure out where efficiencies fall, what org structures look like. All of that's part of this. And I think that is going to take time. It's not going to be overnight. But I think that having too many people involved too intimately could sway the final result of becoming more efficient.
All right. So Kathy, do you have, basically, I feel
do.
like right now,
I do.
we got lots of different ideas, so there's not really a path forward tonight, other than to maybe consider whether Mark and Vanessa should go forward and actually getting quotes on the study, and that would be just getting information.
So, but I do want to weigh in a little bit. So I agree, Andrew, we've got a lot of thoughts that have been thrown out tonight, and some of them work well together, some don't. But I am convinced we do need outside help with this. I've seen a study that as John Butler corrected me, the city of Newton did to look at their human services offerings. And it was really well-written and good. Cost $75K too, just to do those departments. So I think the idea of going forth with I like the idea of maybe what you said, which is get the study done, give it to a committee, and ask them to then digest it and come back with recommendations from that. But I do think we need some outside help here. Sam Stuyvesant and I really learned the lesson, maybe a lesson the hard way, when we tried to discuss combining youth and family services with the senior center as far as some of the things they do. There's clearly duplication there, there's no doubt about it. And that was met with a lot of disapproval from the seniors. So I do think we need I think we do need outside help. I'm at a conference right now of all the Anderson partners worldwide, and we are just being inundated with sessions on AI. And I really started thinking how AI could maybe help the town as far as what we do. And there's lots of examples that have been offered that would apply, I think. So anyway, we're not going to get anywhere tonight as far as decision goes. So I look forward to the discussion next meeting where we've really thought about what each other said to try to come up with a path forward to do what we all know needs to be done. We just got to figure out the best way to get it done. Andrew Faffick called me too about putting the names on the ballot. So never thought about that. Maybe that's another way to do it.
All right, so we'll just continue this discussion, and then at the next meeting, we maybe more drill down further into it.
I don't have a problem with getting some quotes, because I think we need to know, that's useful information.
Yeah, and there's no downside to that, at least we.
Yeah.
So we'll go forward on that.
Could we maybe scale it back some? Do we want quotes to this degree, or do we want quotes to a starting point degree where somebody else would, like a committee, would then pick up a piece to go from? I mean, I really think it should just be like, these are some basic structures to think about. This is how the government would be organized. Like, that's the level that it should be seed questions and seed thoughts, and just sort of, here's 11 things that could potentially work for a town like Southborough if we do a consultant or get quotes for it. It shouldn't be.
Yeah, this is not I'm sure that, Mark, please correct me if I'm wrong, like, you do outreach to the potential consultant. They have an idea of what you're looking to do, right? This is not.
You've got to give them a framework.
Yeah,
Here's what we're looking for you to do.
Sure, and I think, but the important issue here is the way you've framed it, which I think makes sense, is this is really focused on the boards and committees aspect to it, and the potential charter aspect to it, as opposed to the operational issues that you're referring to, right?
And you know what Al is suggesting, as far as a 0% tax increase, you're not going to get that without cutting a whole lot of heads. So it's pretty serious business we're talking about right now. There's got to be people who have had this charge before. There's 350 other towns and cities that have same issues that we do, similar issues. So there's probably some pretty good examples out there of things that we could do if we just had someone to help us pull it all together.
Well, we could also, Jay Tallerman can be a resource for us, and I know that when in some of our meetings, he has done some work like this. He worked with Holliston, I think it is, where they went through a process like this. That was, the committee they had was a select board appointed committee, and the charge was much more detailed than the charge that we had, right? I know there we decided we thought it would be more appealing to town meeting to have this really skinny charge, but then some of the questions from people were saying, well, the charge for this is too broad. You got to give some.
That's okay. We've been accused of being too narrow otherwise.
I like the. Go ahead.
MTC may help us too, Andrew.
Yep.
We may want them to be part of this too, given that this could be, at least in part, technology driven.
I very much like the idea of having them, the committee be elected for a certain period of time at the polls.
All right. I feel like the best we can do we just got a lot of ideas. We'll think about what everyone else has said and just discuss this further.
I think we
got
should.
time.
I think we should ask Mark to at least go out and
Yeah.
get the ballpark, so we know how big this is. And
Okay. Is there anything else to talk about with the recap of the special town meeting? Not really? Okay. Yeah.
I just have something for the future town meeting, based upon this one. My wife was only able to come for the first vote, and then she had to leave to go back to childcare. So something that I want to do, since I'm sitting in this position with 2 young kids, is I want to put myself into the noisy room at one of the next meetings. And I would like to figure out how that can work, and maybe we set the example for the same thing and figure out how a noisy room could be a place we operate. So I want to seed that thought today, because I do think that there is a certain level of inopportunity to participate, especially for a full town meeting where it's going to be several hours long. And it's just something that I've been thinking about, because it is weighing on me heavily, on my family, of how we are able to participate in this.
All right. So, the next thing on the agenda, I think, is a review of the goals that we set in our June meeting. So I thought it'd be a useful exercise. We go down and see kind of like what we've done, what we haven't done. And I think looking at it follows a pattern of just other years. There's some things where nothing has been done, some things where we made good progress. So, like at the first on the list, to start to work up a potential bylaw for a government structure. Al and I had that. We did that. And we're working on it actively. That was at the fall town meeting. Under municipal finance, human resources, the staffing structure for the building department and the vacant building commissioner, I think we took care of that by filling the building commissioner.
I agree.
The SAM contract has been done, right?
Correct.
And we did have your goal was consider reassess current level of CPA surcharge. We did have a presentation on it, but I don't think it's really going anywhere.
We considered it.
We considered it. That was for each of them, it begins with a verb, right? And it's just consider. So we considered it.
If I can back up just slightly, the health insurance premiums, cost savings, that's sort of, there has been movement forward on that,
Yep.
so,
Well, that's going to get started in more depth. I mean, I've got a lot of
next meeting.
questions.
yep.
I bet Al does too. So that one is in process.
2 that I signed up for, and I frankly haven't really done anything on them, under Public Works Infrastructure. One was a CPA article about old burial ground improvements. It's just too late to submit anything this year. And then the maintenance plan for the Corderville Triangle Park. I think this is just Bill Cundiff has already done something to take care of this, I think, so. Fair to say?
I think so.
All right.
Are you skipping through these?
Kind of, so. I was just.
Okay,
Well.
go back to support Route 9 zoning articles that help stabilize tax base. That's what we
Done.
just did.
Done.
Okay.
Check that off. Great.
But now there's going to be more coming. They're going to look at, what they wanted to do at the fall that we asked them to wait for. So they're going to have to, stay tuned with what else they come up with. They're also going to, they are going to propose lifting the cap on the 55 and over from the 7%. They're at least going to consider that. So that's probably going to come forth in April.
I mean, I thought the idea of this exercise was, maybe we can, if there's a goal that was assigned to you, you want to keep going on it, or you just want to abandon it. So, I don't know, anyone want to speak first about the goals that you have, if you want to, one of the things we could add is the senior means home rule petition, if someone wants to take that on. You would work with the Board of Assessors and Town Council to try to draft something up. Anyone interested in taking that on?
I would do that one.
All right, so you want to do rock, paper, scissors for? No. You could work, okay.
Remember, I can't see you guys. I don't know who's raising their hand,
Okay,
so.
Al raised his hand, so. Okay.
Okay, I didn't hear what he said.
Al said he defers to you.
I'm sorry, I deferred to Kathy. I pulled my hand down real fast.
And Al, I just know how the circuit breaker works really well in Massachusetts. That's why I said, let me do this one. So I'll do it.
So, Marguerite, Tim, Al, are there ones?
I've got one that I don't think I can do anything with, Andrew, which is 21 Highland. Until the school situation gets resolved, because we have no place to put the rec department, unless you put them in Trotter. So, you know, you just got to wait to see how the school situation works out before we decide what to do with 21 Highland.
We should ask this question when we have our joint meeting, but if that, with something we discussed during the pre-K, if that building could possibly support a early childhood ed center, it's something we should just pick that topic up in a future date.
Yeah, I mean, you can also have, I don't know, maybe we'll consider this at a separate meeting, but I think there's ways you can work around the concern you're referring to.
All right, so talk to me later and tell me what
Okay.
you want me to do. Okay.
Okay, Cemetery Commission is still a work in progress.
So do you want to, Marguerite, just keep working with Bill about?
Yes,
Yep.
yep, we got to change the wording.
Okay.
So I had the action item on AI automation solutions, and we've been making slow progress on a couple, and I think I'm gonna be focusing on that a lot, because I think that's the only path to getting our labor costs under control.
Okay, I'm trying to see where it is on the list. Oh, yeah, it's under technology.
It's
So
under
then, Are we
technology.
going to do that at the next meeting? And is-
Yeah,
and is
yeah,
Matt
absolutely.
Probst's going to be there
Yep,
too?
yep.
Okay. Okay, good. All right. Tim, you had a couple under the administrative government ones.
Yeah, the first one was very new when we put that in, and I was very busy, so I haven't done a whole lot on that, but I did ask some questions about it and then let it back burner. So I wouldn't mind keeping that one on there, especially if there is some simpler way to implement something for town meeting in the spring. It'd be nice.
Well, I would suggest if you just sit down and talk to, well, is Paul Semino still here?
No, he's actually
Okay.
gone.
I mean, if
Yeah.
you talk to him about these,
Yeah, I didn't make it to him yet. I talked to Jim first, and Jim
Okay.
was supposed to bring me some research, and then I never followed up, and I don't think I got that research.
all right, so then if you want to keep moving it forward, just let me know and we'll put it on the agenda at some point. You know, I think you'd want to do it in the next, like, 3 months.
If the point of that question about moving something after a certain period of time, an automatic move is something Paul would be into, I think we should definitely consider that for the spring town meeting, because we have a lot of articles to go through, or we'll have a lot at that point. But the bylaw part of it is maybe not necessary, depending if the moderator has suggestions. So I think that this one's something we should pick up in a future meeting, but it could also be a conversation I have with Paul first, and then bring back
Yeah.
to consider options.
He may say, that's none of your business, this is just a moderator.
He very well, in which case I might consider figuring out the bylaw angle and making an automatic motion after a certain amount of time, because at the end of the day, my point earlier about my wife leaving is something I am considering for childcare. So if these meetings run too long, your childcare runs out, and then you can't vote on what you want there for.
Well, you can always say at any point in the discussion, Mr. Moderator, I move the question.
Only if you wait in line, which is sometimes 12 people deep saying the same thing.
But then the other part of it is you might have somebody who has really good points to make that will get shut out time after time after time because they're not fast enough to get to the line to the mic.
Yeah, it goes both ways, but at the end of the day, like, I'm not thinking this is like a 5-minute thing. I'm thinking this is like 45 minutes of conversation, that you get through a healthy amount of debate in 45 minutes. And it might just be something Paul agrees to say, okay, if somebody doesn't have a point sooner, and he puts that in a 15-minute mark or something. Like, there could be 100 ways to approach this, but, you know, if we don't get some level of support from Paul, then a bylaw might be in order to kind of codify it. So I think keeping it and then trying to find a way without codifying it is the right way to go. And then if it needs to go into something more permanent, then we consider a more permanent solution.
All right, so Kathy, is there anything to report on the Hopkinton Water IMA?
That they keep showing up in my office and talking, and then we don't hear from them again. So, no. So they really just do not have their act together. So I'm going to say Mr. Butler would agree, Mr. Cundiff would agree. They've spent millions of dollars on design to come through, do it this way. They have, I believe, applied to the state for what they've got to do with the state to get approval for this. So they're moving forward as if they have a contract, they just don't. They asked us at the last meeting to go ahead and start the, engaging the auditor to do it, and we said, no, we're not doing that until we have a IMA signed. So, beats me, Andrew.
The ball is in their court.
Balls in the court. The other one too, golf course committee contract is up 12/31/26, and I do intend to start talking to them about that pretty soon.
Okay, and then I think the other ones on the list that are things we could maybe work up between now and the annual town meeting are the Stormwater Enterprise Fund, analyzing that, discussing that at a future meeting. And then Marguerite, improve funding mechanisms for pavement management and the sidewalk plan.
Is that like, get grants?
Well, I know Bill, I think you would begin by talking to Bill about it, right? So like, I know this is a question I get a lot, because, right in my neighborhood, we had, we used some of the ARPA money to get design work done, and it's done.
Right.
For the sidewalks there's some on Parkerville Road, on Oak Hill Road, on Woodland Road. This is great. So like, when is it ever gonna happen, and how can we fund it? Like Bill's talked about, having a bond. Now, this may not be the best year to.
Yeah, Andrew, I know, he's gonna ask to come in front of us in the next couple of meetings. He's going to Capitol first.
Okay.
He's got a plan. He's been working on it. He's ready to bring forth the comprehensive plan that we've been waiting for. He's done a few things in the fall, including Pine Hill Road and a couple other things, but now he's ready to bring forward the entire comprehensive plan to Capitol first and then directly to us. So we should see him before the end of December as far as what the plan looks like.
Okay. Anything else we should talk about with the goals? Yeah, Kathy, I think you signed up for that one. Do you think we should still go forward? If so, are you still up for it, for making a presentation about, I know that advisory has looked into this before.
The Stormwater Enterprise Fund?
Yeah.
I think we should officially write them a letter and ask to Marcy and ask the advisory committee to research this for us and bring back a recommendation. It was their idea to begin with.
Okay.
So I think this is something that they should do, well within their purview to do it, and bring it back to us soon so we can take a look at it.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Select Board request the Advisory Committee to assess a Stormwater Enterprise Fund and make a report as appropriate.
Second.
All right. Makes sense to me. Roll call vote. Dennington, aye.
Landry, aye.
Fling eye.
Hamilton, aye.
Cook, aye.
Okay. So there we can feel like we checked off the goal by just asking someone else to do it.
Get them to do it.
But they should. They really have focused on this. We've talked about it a long time. It really is something right in their sweet spot to be able to do.
All right. Okay, next, update on the DOR financial policies review. So it's getting a little later. Let's see if I can summarize this. So what did we have? 2 years ago, we had this financial review by the Department of Revenue, right? Came, did all these interviews of people, and made recommendations. And one of them is you should adopt financial policies on these particular topics in this list, right? So I don't know if everyone has a list in front of them. Okay. The ones that are in gray, let's say adopted, those got done, right? And the way we did it is, I think Al and Andrew Pfaff were assigned to work them up. They give you a draft, and then you work it up on, are there some modifications we can make? The ones in pink are ones where they got to some point of discussion, and then it just dropped off and we didn't finish them. So one of the things we could do is just pick it up where we left off and try to keep making some progress, maybe get through at least, half of them, if not all of them.
looks like the Council on Aging has the draft.
Oh, yeah, senior, okay. Yeah,
Pursue
some of them
that
are,
one?
it's just, does anyone want to, I mean, I can offer to help out here of, you know, bird dog, all these, find out the different status of them and just try to bring them forward to the select board for adoption.
I could chase 17 down if you want.
Okay. Al, I know you were on.
So you're
this
just going to assign people to each one of these, Andrew, the ones that aren't done? Is that what you're doing?
Or does it make sense, I'm going to leave it, I'm not sure. Does it make sense to just have one person?
So-
that's in-
I'm happy to continue on with this. It was actually a pretty
Okay,
useful
Okay.
discussion, and
So
it's going to come before us anyway, and
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was just going to say, the way that this was set up, just to refresh, is that myself, finance director, town accountant, member of select board, which was Mr. Hamilton, and a member of advisory, which was Mr. Pfaff, were the ones that were reviewing these, working them up, and recommending them to the board as they were ready for approval, which is the ones in gray.
Okay, so I'll withdraw my offer to.
So I think some of the notes on here that you'll see, for example, the policy on capital planning, we really wanted to have someone from capital kind of help us with that one. Obviously, meeting with the fire chief and talking about ambulance receivables, council on aging for a senior tax work-off, things like that. And then, some of the ones with financial reserves, investments, those seem to be some of the third rail discussions that, we wanted to spend some more time on.
I thought we did the investment one where we adopted the prudent man policy or whatever. So can we just have the same group continue doing this? Because Andrew Pfaff is very good at this, Al's very good at this. So if Al's willing to resume this, just
yeah,
keep
no,
going.
I'm good.
Fine with
the
me.
thing about the prudent investor rule, I think we might have had adopted a bylaw at a town meeting about it.
Well, maybe that's what we did.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so you think we're all set on that?
Okay.
All right. Okay, so then for the last item, the notice of a revised FY regional school assessment. I'm just going to hold this, okay? I know Mr. Muria raised that open meeting law issue, which, without even getting into it, this was something I really just wanted to notify the board of this letter if you've read it. If you've read it, there's really nothing to do, and let's just hold this, and then if there's any need to actually have a meeting about it, which I don't see that there is, then we'll just take
Is
it out.
is it more or less? I haven't seen it. More?
There is no change in the assessments to the member towns. So there's really not anything to do. We'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
All right, we do have public comment on the end of the agenda. That's probably an error because I think we stopped doing that again at the end. But is there any public comment?
Break this evening.
What do you say?
I said I'll give you a break this evening.
Okay, I move that we adjourn.
Second,
Okay, roll call vote. Dennington, aye.
Landry, aye.
Kling, aye.
Hamilton, aye.
Cook eye.
All right, good night.
Good night.